head, and if it doesn't come out right, it's entirely my fault. So 2015, 2014, in Morón, Spain, at San Miguel Cathedral in Morón de la Frontera. It's the last place in Spain that the Moors were pushed out of after the Crusades. And the King of Spain promised anybody who moved in there kind of the 40 acres and a mule, and you'll have a job. Come here, we'll give you land, we'll give you a job. And their job was to build this giant, beautiful cathedral, home of the world's largest pure silver tabernacle in all of the world, not just Christendom. And we're driving back from that one day, and it's me driving the car with the commanding officer in the front seat and the regiment sergeant major. I think it was the judge in the back seat. I know it was Sergeant Major Woods. And the commanding officer says, "I'm just a horse living in a car wash." What the hell? Did you just have a stroke? Like, recite the alphabet to me right now so I know you didn't have a stroke. And no, there's a horse living in a car wash back there. Okay. So like the next day I get in the car and I drive back out, and sure as hell there's a horse living in a car wash. Like an old car wash, horse living in it. And the horse doesn't know how the horse got there. The horse is just, this is where I live now. And that's kind of how I feel, is I'm just a horse living in a car wash. I don't know how I got here, but I can look back and maybe piece the whole thing together. And I'll start back in 1978 when I'm born, and I got my mom and dad, and they, through 18 years of living in the state of Delaware, kind of laid out how you should be. And they gave me opportunities to risk and to accept risk and to recognize what risk is acceptable and what risk is very bad. Through the volunteer fire department, they're like, hey, you can do this. You can strap on an SCBA and protective firefighting ensemble, and you can go into a building that's on fire. And as my parents, they were completely happy with that. But the risk that they weren't allowing to let me accept was drugs and the bad things. So good risk and bad risk. And they got me to that point where I am now. And graduated from high school, and I met Sarah. And after graduating high school, I was listless. I didn't know what I was going to do. But suddenly meeting her and knowing this is the woman I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, I got kicked into reality, and now I have to find out what I'm going to do. And I was out mowing the lawn one day, and the Marine Corps recruiter called me and said, "Hey, you want to be in the Marine Corps?" And I said, "Well, sure, I got nothing else going on. Let's do that." So I did that. And so 1997, get into recruit training, and year after that, I was blessed to be joined in holy matrimony by a retired U.S. Navy chaplain. Had guys like Jamie Bolden, now Detective Jamie Bolden, Prince George's County, Maryland, at the altar with me. And as it went on, it was more and more, what can I do to make sure that the legacy I'm leaving behind me is one that everybody should look at and hopefully aspire to be the same. It's why we have all these saints in the windows. They were saints when they walked the earth, because you want to model your lives after these people that you see pictures of. And again, horse living in a car wash. I got Dave Wiles. I saw Dave. There he is. Dave Wiles, my first officer in charge. And all I wanted to do in the Marine Corps was be a corporal and then get out. And I made it to corporal, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can do a little bit more than that. And Dave was there, and Dave's like, don't ever be happy with anything that's around you. You have to push the limits. Boundaries are arbitrary and made up, and those boundaries can be moved to be something else if you have the vision to move the boundary to be in the shape that you want it to be. And you can do that as a warrant officer. And I said, well, yeah, I can do that as a warrant officer. So off to USMC, met Justin Breaux, the wonderful medical examiner from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So a guy pulling apart dead bodies, just a Marine, a guy who had an aspiration to do something and is now doing that of all things. Year in Iwakuni, get back out of Iwakuni, wind up at the schoolhouse as an instructor. We got to spend 4 years molding the minds of young Marines, airmen, soldiers, Coast Guardsmen, sailors, civilian firefighters, and really get into that technical acumen where I became a much better firefighter and a much better Marine by doing the joint thing where I'm working with all the other services and learning how the Marine Corps works with those. Get the Chem Biological Institute Task Force, and I applied to be a 7002, an aircraft rescue firefighting officer. Well, the long title is Expeditionary Airfield and Aircraft Rescue Firefighting Officer, and I think it's changed now. And the Marine Corps said, well, we don't need any of those, but how about being a chem bio officer? And I was like, no, okay, I guess that's the thing I can do. And Milt Thomas, who was at Seaburn with me, he's like, yeah, you're going to be a Seaburn officer. And I was like, I'm going to punch you in your mouth. You ever say anything like that to me again? And sure as hell, I wound up as a Seaburn officer. 1st Battalion, 2nd Battalion, 8th Marine Regiment. I got Dan Gaskell as my officer, replaced by Jamie Murphy. The finest men you've ever met. I mean, like just as technically proficient. This is how we fight a battalion. And I don't know anything about that because I spent 11 years in the aircraft wing around aviators, and everything's like, the aircraft wing. We just kind of do what the Marine Corps does. Completely lost, like bumping into walls like some sort of robot. And Joel Schwendinger's there, and he's like, Jim, I got you. Come on in. Let's talk about how to be an infantry guy. And the bars I'm wearing right now are Joel's bars. He nailed these to me just in case he wasn't able to make it. And they say Chief Warrant Officer 5 is a unicorn, but a gunner, Chief Warrant Officer 5, is really a double unicorn. You see that less often than anything else on Earth. And that's what Joel Schwindinger is. So if you want to see a double unicorn, there he is with the sunglasses on his head. So 3 years in 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines, deployed 2009, 2011 to some of the heaviest fighting that the Marine Corps seen, the largest Marine helicopter assault since Vietnam. Land, and I was already there before the helicopters landed because Gene and the Master Guns were like, hey, we need the operations center set up, and you're the guy in charge of that, so get on out there. So, 6 months in Afghanistan, followed by a year off, back to 6 months in Afghanistan with J.D. Harrell, who, if you don't know who J.D. Harrell is, look the name up. My youngest son, John, who's in school right now, is named after J.D. Harrell, because I always said if I have another son, I'm going to name him after John Harrell, because that man was a warrior, like to the core, a warrior. Walked into the COC after getting hit by an IED, completely peppered with just bleeding everywhere. He's like, all right, Jim, tell me what's going on. I was like, well, you're bleeding all over the COC. Let me tell you what else is going on. We had, a small arms fire here, counter an IED find here, and the division CG just called and said, get your ass to medical. And he said, all right, I'll be in my room. Okay, and the CG calls again. He's like, I'm sending a helicopter, put your CO on the bird, and walk him out there if you have to. And then he spent 3 days on light duty after that in the COC, and that was the most distracting 3 days, because when the CO's around looking at everything that's going on, it's kind of, because the man wants to know what's going on, it just kind of slows things down. Come back to Security Force Regiment, spend 2.5 years there, and then I get a phone call, hey Jim, 6th Marine Regiment needs a Seaburn officer, it's a hot fill, can you go right now? And I said, absolutely, because at that time, Chief Warrant Officer 3 Domorod, Chief Warrant Officer 2 Domorod, remembers from recruit training the French Fourragère, and that dates back to 5th and 6th Marine Regiment, still wear the French Fourragère from 1918 when they were fighting in the Argonne, when they were fighting at Bellewood, when they were fighting at all over France. And I was like, that's cool. Like, I want to run those things. And then, okay, it's only 5th and 6th Marine Regiment, and I'm just an aircraft, I'm an airwing guy. I'm never going to get into the infantry. I'm never going to get to wear French Fourragère. Hey, you want to go to 6th Marines? Absolutely, because now I get to wear that French Fourragère. And that's when I met, it was General Heritage, now then it was General Worth, followed by General Reed. But the time that I spent with General Worth, it was an absolute learning experience for everything you can imagine. And General Worth specifically, the stoic, professional, compassionate leader that General Worth was for everything that we did, because we were dragged every which way you can imagine. We did the ITXs, we did all the COC exercises, we did all the and then the 6 months, and we did Bold Alligator. Yeah, Bold Alligator. Spent a month living on the USS Kearsarge. Again, never been to sea, and what am I going to do? I'm going to do everything that I've never done. I'm going to do it at the same time with General Worth by my side. So, a month on ship, the month out in ITX, the 6 months in Spain, and that 6 months in Spain really kicked off the world tour that I've done since then. But unimaginable things that we did, and this man there the entire time, just keeping that regiment growing, and everybody wanting to do it because this guy was there with us as our leader. And then I started meeting Michael Woods, who another one of the finest human beings to walk this earth. He's the Sergeant Major of Marine Corps of U.S. AFRICOM now, along with General. It's an easy name. I keep Langley. So 4-star Marine General Officer, first black General Officer of the Marine Corps. With Sergeant Major Woods, I can't imagine wanting to fight a war in Africa right now, because those two men at the top of it would destroy anything that comes across them. Hopefully the next COVID strain comes out of there, so those two guys can kill them immediately. So that, and then during my time as 6th Marines, because Catholic with a large Catholic family, the XO, we had a French officer coming in with the Catholic, large Catholic family, and the XO was like, hey Jim, you're going to be the sponsor for these guys. I'm like, I don't know anything about the French. The only thing I know about the French is Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail, when the French guys are in the castle taunting the English guys, right? So, and then when I met them, sure as hell they talked, and that's what I heard in my head was Monty Python. I almost broke my bearing in front of these guys. But because I was the sponsor for the French officer, when he got to plan the memorial at Bella Wood, he said, hey, I need an assistant action officer, and you're going to be my assistant action officer because you're my sponsor and you should be able to go to Bella Wood. I said, good enough. So 2016, I got to walk the ground at Bella Wood. I got to be part of the memorial ceremony for all the fighting that happened there with the 6th Marine Regiment, which I'm part of and wearing the Forget of. And then 2 years later, after we did the Spain deployment, happens again, and now we're going back for the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Bella Wood, and I'm there walking the ground, and it wasn't just the Marines that were there, it was a French battalion that was there, and a German battalion got invited for the first time. I'm like, all right, I mean, we can fight this thing over again if you want to, but we can kick the Germans out of Bella Wood the same way we did last time. But to be part of that, and just those pieces of Marine Corps history that I've Forrest Gumped, horse in a car wash my way into. I have no explanation of why it happened, but I got to do all that. And then I come back from that, and I get a phone call from Headquarters Marine Corps one day, hey, somebody's got to go to Okinawa. And I was like, well, you're calling me. It means I'm the guy you got to send to Okinawa. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, well, just cut the orders, because if I'm going to get them anyway, I might as well have them now. 2 months later, take the whole family to go to Okinawa, and we spent 3 years there, where I got to lead the Seaburn Response Platoon in 3rd Marine Division, and then move on up to 3MAF. Again, during exciting times in the Marine Corps, where we're not just on the tip of the spear in the West, getting ready to fight the nation's adversaries, but we're restructuring how everything CBR and defense is done in the Marine Corps. And I just happened to be in the spot that everybody was looking at, because the Commandant said, look over there. And we got to just do exciting things under General Journey, who was my Division CG, and then General Smith, who was the MEV CG, who said, hey, weapons free, do whatever crazy thing you want to do. And we threw all kinds of crazy at the wall on whatever stuff we put into a document that had the Headquarters Marine Corps. And that's what we're doing now, where we are changing everything CBR and defense in the Marine Corps. And then leaving there, I left Camp Lejeune, and I said, hey, I'm never coming back to Camp Lejeune. And they said, guess what? You can go back to Camp Lejeune. I said, all right, well, Camp Lejeune, here we go, 2 MEF. So only Seaburn officer ever to sit in 2 different MEFs. And all right, I guess I'm blessed to do that, and now I've got orders up to CD&I where I get to carry all that on. So that's the story, but all of that is, it's not just me doing it, it's because along the way I had all of you that were there dragging, pushing, carrying, mentoring, coaching, loving me along the way, where I'm not here today because of anything that I did. And I've said it before, like there is an I in Marine, smack dab in the middle, right? But if you take away everything else around it, it's just I. And one man by himself doesn't do anything. But Marines without the I is just Marnes. And what the hell is that? That's not a real thing, right? So you've got to have that I surrounded by the Marnes, and you get Marines. And it's not just Marines, it's Navy, it's all the other services that we all come together and do these great things on behalf of this blessed nation. And I wouldn't be here without all of you sitting out here. So this isn't really about me. Yes, I'm the guy standing up here doing the speech, but if you all weren't out there, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And there's one person who bears all of that weight. Like really, when you look at an atom is, right? Your nucleus is the weight of all the atom, and then the electrons around it make up a certain portion of it. And I'm getting into nuclear physics. I don't really want to do that, but really the nucleus of everything is Sarah. And this is the one who, through the deployment, through the training, through the exciting things that I've got to do, she's the one that's been sitting home, making sure the cell phone bill's paid, making sure the power's on in the house, making sure the kids aren't starving to death, doing everything that I never had to worry about. And if I did have to worry about it, I wouldn't know what the hell I'm doing, because I've never had to worry about any of those things. This is the one who, without her, absolutely none of this would be possible, because in the very beginning, it was me meeting her that forced me to make an adult decision to do something with my life and enter the United States Marine Corps. So this is entirely you. This is of all of this. This is really just you having done this. So thank you. So as we spend this day doing whatever it is we're going to do, some people, I don't know who has the longest distance travel award. That's an old fire service thing. I don't think it's Jamie. I think it's probably Justin coming down from Massachusetts, unless somebody came from further away than Massachusetts. As we spend this day, this is not a celebration of me. This is a celebration of you and everything that you've done to get me to where I am, because, again, I would not be standing here today without every single one of you sitting out here. From the Marine professionals that I've worked with, to the Knights of Columbus that are out here, my past Grand Knights in Virginia Beach, Carl Barrett, thanks for coming down and joining me in this. The Marine Corps is the thing, but I have an expiration date. And when I take this uniform off for the last time, what I'm going to have left is my wife, my family, and then ultimately Jesus behind me, who gave me life and gave everybody salvation, and gave me the grace to be able to accept what I have to accept to get to where I am. So there's cake in the annex for immediately after. If you're more adventurous, there's a keg at the house for all of you who want to come over and help me empty that out. But just one last time, thank you everybody for making this trip and joining this experience with me. Let me mention one more thing that I got to do, because I got a couple of friends back there that I need to talk about. For a year, I was a company commander for an infantry company, which doesn't happen. Like, dumb crash crew guy out of Delaware. I spray the hose, put out the fire. It's simple, right now. So now you're doing the Seaburn thing, and guess what? We need a company commander. And Mike Kyle and Guzman Carlos, my first sergeant, my company gunny, who, again, I don't know anything about the infantry, but these two guys, especially guns, like my company gunny, kept that company going so that I could do the adventurous things I wanted to do as a company commander. All the things that I think a company commander should have done, I had to do and then live with the consequences of that. But these guys kept it so that it didn't fall apart. So thanks again for another weird experience. Just Forrest Gump, horse in a car wash thing. Like, how did I wind up here? I don't know, but let's see what we can do with it. So thanks again for coming. I think I'm gonna end the speech there. Cake in the annex, keg at the house, and there's gonna be some photos afterwards. So be patient with me as I line you up kind of by echelon to make sure that I do it in groups. So thanks again, General. Thank you very much for coming out and being the promoting officer. A model of humanity right here in this man. So, Jamie, I mentioned you and Ben. Okay, all right. I'm just looking at, like, all these people made this trip, and I'd be a jerk if I didn't say, thanks for coming out. And the whole Seabird community out here, the retired, Chris Joy, retired Chief Warrant Officer 5, so there's at least 3 of us in the room right now. If I look around. No. Okay, all right, we're done. Dan, thanks. All right, I'm going to kiss my wife one more time. Thank you.